All right, this is attorney Sarah Holmes, and as part of our series, The Everyday Real Estate Investor, today we are talking with Jeanne Whipple, who is the team leader at Philly Home Girls, Elephant Wissahickon Realtors. So good afternoon, Jeanne.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hi, yeah, thanks for coming on and giving us some information today.
Absolutely.
All right, so just introduce yourself to everybody and tell us what you do.
So I've been a licensed real estate agent this is my 18th year. I've been on a team in my entire career. I started the Philly Home Girls in 2011, and we're a team of 8 salespeople and 4 full-time staff members. And I spend most of my time generating opportunities for the salespeople. I spend about 20% of my time actually working on sales. I really leave it up to my teammates to do the headline on the sales department. And then I also build and sell homes and subdivide and develop. And I'm also a investment property owner, personally, and in a LLC with a partner. And I just last week closed on my next development opportunity. So I've got to decide what to do with that next.
Okay, so you're not only a real estate agent, but you yourself are investing and developing property as well.
Yes, and in 2 ways, individually and also in an LLC with a partnership.
Okay, great. So what kinds of properties have you invested in the past?
So I started with a property that I call it the beginner's mistake, where you just go and buy the cheapest property, the nicest, cheapest property that you can find and rent that out. So this one property I bought for $75,000 in a not very interesting neighborhood. And I had it for about 5 years. I rented it to probably 8 different groups of people. I had bed bugs. I had eviction landlord-tenant court. I had exploding water pipes. I renovated it myself with my own bare hands. I dropped my cell phone in a bucket of paint and couldn't sell houses that day. It was all of those things. So after that, I just started buying properties that I would live in. That was my bottom line. So I have one in Queen Village that I think is on the worst block in Queen Village, but I would still live there. And that was my first one. I bought it as a flip, hoped to get it done in time for the 2008 tax credit. I didn't get it done in time, so I couldn't sell it to a first-time home buyer, so I still own it 10 years later. And now, 10 years later, it's actually making money because the taxes have quadruplified 10 times in 10 years.
Oh, gosh. So do you typically buy properties to hold and rent out, or do you buy a lot of properties to flip?
Not anymore. So that second property I was just talking about in Queen Village, I bought it, nobody wanted it, it was a teardown. I renovated it, and then I tried to sell it, couldn't, and then I pulled all the equity out of it, and then I bought a piece of land, and then I built my first 2 houses for resale. So after I did that, I thought, oh, I'll never buy a property to hold ever again. And being a landlord is really, really hard and taxing emotionally. But then land got really expensive. So I ended up buying 2 more houses that I still own and rent out. So I have 3 that I own myself and rent out. And in that time, the person that I built the first 2 houses with that first home equity line of credit off of the one that I tried flip, we've since then bought many pieces of land, subdivided them, and built 22 houses. And out of those 22, 6 didn't sell. So we kept those 6 houses. They were all attached in one long row. And then we leveraged them to buy another piece of land that we then subdivided into 2 8-unit apartment buildings. So I did it all. So I've also done 2 flips, one of which I made $3,000 on that had a partner. So I just split that evenly. So it was $1,500 a piece is what we made after 18 months. And the other one I made good money on, but I got sued.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah, so all of it, you name it, I've done it.
Okay. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you'd pass on to people in investing in that way?
Well, the cost of holding a property, especially a flip, will eat your profitability very quickly. So the problem with the flip that I did with a partner that took 18 months and we made $1,500 a piece was that the 2 of us couldn't make decisions fast enough. I could have made decisions very fast, but my partner was, wanting to intensely renovate everything single-handedly, one thing at a time, everything custom. Cabinets took 2 months to make because they were hand painted, all kinds of craziness. So that length of time that we held the property ate all the profits, the carrying cost. So that would be the one thing that I would concentrate on. And two, when you work with a partner, you really have to have the utmost trust. And you have to always believe that the other person is carrying their weight, and you have to be there has to be financial equality in that both of you not only, maybe you don't have the same amount of money in, but you have the equal amount of loss. So if one person's putting money in and the other person is putting time, you just have to believe that those two losses are equal. You have the same amount to lose.
Okay. So it seems like, going into these things with a partner has a lot more challenges than maybe trying to invest on your own.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any advice for people that are looking for a partner to team up with? What kind of characteristics? Do you want someone that's done this before if you're a newbie, or does that not really matter?
Well, first thing you have to do is like the person. And the second thing you have to do is go to Sarah Holmes and get a partnership agreement. This is not just a shameless plug. It's actually true. She will protect you from when you depart. And when you go into these things, you should feel like you're never going to depart. That's the way you should feel. But ultimately, you know that there is going to be a departure. Unless you're married to that person and, literally married, there will be a separation. So, and also you have to worry about what if something happens to that person. You should be able to deal with, in our business, we've met a lot of partners who had former partners because they passed away. And that is something that you do need to have in writing.
Yeah. So kind of plan for the end at the beginning. Is that how you would, tell people to do it?
And if you're getting into a relationship with a partner and you're having easy conversations about setting it up, that's a good sign. If you're having easy conversations that are mutually agreeable about splitting at the beginning, that's a really good sign.
Okay. So right now when you're investing, are you still investing with a partner or on your own or a little of both?
This new project I just got into on my own, but it's possible I will bring my former partner in. So we started building, we've known each other since college. 1996 is when we met. We started building together in 2011, and we still own the 2 apartment buildings plus the 6 units together, and we've successfully sold 22 other houses together. So we've gotten into an argument twice over all that time, which has been about 8 years. So I'm still pro partnership.
Yeah, those are still really good odds.
Mm-hmm.
Over that period of time, selling 22, still on speaking terms and still, making profit. That's a good sign.
And if I was to be put in a lie detector test and someone asked me, do you think that this relationship is mutually equitable? I wouldn't be able to say yes and pass the lie detector test. I think that there's probably points in this relationship where my partner is doing better than me on these things, but I don't think about it because it's a partnership. It's done. We're working together. We're getting along. I'm making money that I expect to be making. Should I be making more? Should I be getting half of every penny? I guess that's what a partnership is, 50-50, but I'm probably not. And I'm okay because the respect is there, the love is there, and I think that we have the same amount to lose as far as my cash in and my time in and his time in and his cash in. So that's what works.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's always some trade-off between time. Usually there's one person that puts in more time, the other puts in more money, and just trying to get those on an equal footing often is a challenge for people.
Yeah, obviously if I was losing my shirt, I wouldn't be feeling the same way. So
yeah, you'd get out, hopefully, right?
Yeah, so it's working.
Okay. And then what do you look for when you're going to invest in a property? Like, are there particular characteristics of the property? How do you work out financials? Just kind of like, what's the process that you look at?
My criteria number 1 is I'm a contingency planner. So if the bottom fell out, if the apocalypse hit, would I live there? So I would have to like the property enough to want to live there. And I couldn't see if I was going to rent it or flip it. If I didn't want to live there, why would anybody want to live there? So it has to have those redeeming qualities, number one. Number two is the resaleability. Whether you hold it or not, you want other people to have some desirability for it in case you have to exit quickly. And then the third is how easy is it going to be to manage and maintain this property? Both the physical elements of it, as far as, how many sides, does it have a lawn, is it on a corner, are there a zillion windows, does it have 6 kitchens or 1? But also just how do you get there? So if it takes you an hour to drive there, for some odd reason you had to go in the middle of the night and you couldn't, that would be a factor for me.
Okay. Do you manage your own properties, or do you ever hire an outside management company to do that?
I do. I manage my 3, and I use a software called Buildium, which is $45 a month, but it keeps things organized for me. And contact Sarah Holmes to talk about what kind of things you need to organize. But it's more than just payments. You need to be able to track when your tenants ask you for something and how long it takes you to respond.
Yeah, that's like a big challenge that I always see people struggle with when they want to manage their own properties and they're new and they've only had a couple of them, is they don't understand how important it is to like log requests. Like if your tenant calls you and says, hey, the railing on the staircase is broken, you need to come out and fix it, and 3 months later you haven't done it, and then they end up, hurting themselves and suing you, you have to be able to go back and prove, look, they called me, but I was out there within a week. Here are my receipts. I fixed it. Here's what I did. And very few people, especially starting out, are that organized and are able to like maintain those kinds of records. But those are really important when you have a bunch of properties.
Yeah, and this Buildium system, it is a system that you can contact your tenants through it and vice versa, and it keeps a log for every one of your properties of the communication.
Yeah,
As well as online payment portal and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can put your expenses in there. You can upload your receipts for repairs. For tax purposes, it's good.
Oh, that would be amazing for people.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't think about it. I have a lot of conversations with clients about, should I rent this property out or should I just sell it? And one of the things that's very simple to start understanding the responsibility of being a landlord is to say, okay, well, your heater broke last year. How long did it take you to get someone out to fix it? And when they told you it was a replacement and you're like, no, just patch it. And then 2 weeks passed, no one could find the parts. Or 4 weeks later, you were cold, but it finally got fixed. That is not what you get to do as a landlord. When you're a landlord and your tenant's heater breaks, you have to pay the guy who's going to come out in 3 seconds or less, the rate that kind of service costs. You don't get to comparison shop your repairs or deal with it as long as it takes to get to it. You have to drop everything you're doing.
Yeah, and you can't really rely on, jerry rigging stuff anymore. Whereas, if you live in the house, you just kind of do a quick fix. Tenants, you always got to be concerned about their safety and, their rights. Like the rights that residential tenants have, especially in cities, are pretty big. So you can't mess those things up.
Yeah, you can't even rely on what they're saying. They're saying, oh, the basement flooded. And then you send over Roto-Rooter. But that wasn't the case at all. It was actually the washing machine that flooded. And what you really needed was a plumber. But not really. You needed a small appliance repair guy because you actually had to replace the ejection pump, not the washing machine. So, 3 repair guys later, you figured out what the problem was because you didn't go down there and you just listened to what the tenant said.
Yeah, it's definitely a good tip to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I like that you said about when considering how you invest and what properties to buy, that, I used to go to a lot of real estate investing, like networking events and seminars, and rarely do they ever say that they would only buy things that they would want to live in. In fact, most of the time, they're telling people to buy in some really crummy areas, like kind of a rundown, property in hopes that eventually it will appreciate and you could sell it. So I think your advice about whether you would live there is often like really overlooked and not something that other people are hearing.
I think that for me, quality of life is always number one motivation for me. And I don't get scared. I'm very brave when it comes to investing, and I feel like a lot of people are scared, and they're scared because they've been given advice like buy a crappy house in a crappy neighborhood and hope things get better. if you were to move forward on a property that you liked enough to live in it, you wouldn't be so scared. And if you're not scared and you really love the property, you wouldn't be afraid to pay extra for that the heating repair guy who needs to come tomorrow. You know, if it's some crappy property in some crappy neighborhood, some crappy commute way far away from you, you are going to want to comparison shop that heat repair guy. It's going to take 6 weeks to fix. I mean, because you just don't love it.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I think that's a very, very good tip. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how can people find you if they need your help? Can you help people find investment properties to buy?
Yeah, I have a team of 8. We're all qualified to help you with all the technicalities in investing, which includes like cap rate, cash on cash return. We have a lot of resources as far as repair people and contractors. We do tenant placement, and we can also refer property management companies. You can reach any one of us at phillyhomegirls.com or at phillyhomegirls on Instagram, and same on Twitter and Facebook.
Okay, so phillyhomegirls.com. And I like that you have the investor experience. You know, you can help people get into a property. You can refer them to, you know, whatever other experts they might need, and really help them assess, you know, the financial and the logistics of it and figure out if it's really right for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you want to work with a partnership, all you need to do is come to us with a budget. We can even help you with that, but we could tell you what your best options within any budget and where.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much, Jeanne. And again, it was Jeanne Whipple with Philly Home Girls, and she can be found at phillyhomegirls.com.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks, Jeanne. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Real Estate Investor.